our principal friends, university colleagues, and counselor friends to really enjoy this ride and to learn about this conversation, which is so important. I did want to, also say thank you to you all for being here, because by being here, you're supporting the mission of IC3, which is counseling in every school. Young people are leaving schools like airplanes without a navigation system. And these airplanes crash into a world of sadness, anger, frustration. We have far too many grumpy 35-year-olds on Monday mornings. We've got to change the world. And we can do that by making sure we allow young people to find purpose and direction in school. It's our prerogative not just to teach math and English, but to actually provide guidance and direction and purpose. And really, the IC3 Festival is a celebration of this work of career and college counseling. You will see that I was the first IC3 volunteer, but we are really 300 plus volunteers. There's a lot of people who hold me on their shoulders and I become visible, but I'm only welcoming you on behalf of 300 plus volunteers in numerous countries from schools and universities who are doing a phenomenal job. I have one of our volunteers from Sweden, Geeta Jayant, who just said, hello. I can see so many people walking into this room. IC3 culture of service. We welcome you to the IC3 culture of love. We're not fear-based. We welcome you to being vulnerable. We are vulnerable at IC3. We welcome you to being childlike. We're really childlike. We're willing to learn and unlearn and relearn. So, we really are incredibly grateful to our community for who we are. We constantly evolve. We constantly innovate. We remain childlike. We do not sit on any pedestals here. We have a big chopper at IC3. It's called the ego chopper. Every day, the pandemic teaches us humility, but even before that, for many years, we really learned to be humble. So please enjoy this week of celebration, express gratitude. We are going to serve together, and we'll make love-based decisions here, not fear-based decisions, and really be vulnerable as well as unlearn and relearn. So thank you so much. Rupa is one of the best known principals in India who grossly undermines herself and underestimates her ability. I had to coax her and cajole her with Michelle to lead this presidential forum committee. And, she runs a phenomenal school and campus. Rupa, thank you for your friendship and for your leadership with Michelle on this front. So I welcome you and I welcome all the panelists and all our guests here at the IC3 Festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ganesh, for being there. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I request the three panelists to please put on their cameras and get on the screen live so that everybody can see the erudite panelists. The three panelists we have: Kruti Bharucha, Shalini Kapoor, and Dr. Sandra Faber. Hello, everybody. Good to have you on board.
Hi, Rupa. Thank you.
So we've congregated here today under the aegis of IC3 Presidential Forum to discuss on a topic which has been a moot point of discussion in many panels, but we are discussing it a little differently. Careers 2040, balancing technology and the humane element. On this first day of December. December usually heralds in the three wise men. But today, we herald in the three wise women who bear with them not gifts of gold nor diamond, but something far more precious. They bear with them knowledge and wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the proud privilege to welcome our erudite panelists, Kruti Bharucha, Shalini Kapoor, and Dr. Sandra Faber. Stanford University came up with the integrated curriculum of STS. And this is what we are trying to address today. The S stands for society values, the T stands for technological advancement, and the second S stands for science research. And to represent these, we have the first S is society values, is being represented by Kruti Bharucha, who is the founder and CEO of an NGO called Peepul. Peepul, as in the revered tree of India. As a young girl, she would come to India from the US, and she found a lot of inequalities around her. And I guess this was the reason why we have her finding her feet here in India in the form of people. She has been in the corporate world with World Bank, with IMF, and yet it was that humane element in her that brought her to make sure that she educated the poorest of the poor. To represent the T, we have, that's the technological advancement, we have Shalini Kapoor, the first woman IBM fellow from India and Southeast Asia. She is also the Chief Technical Officer of IBM India. She has taken her passion and made it into something that IBM is known for, the Watson IoT, and of course, artificial intelligence. She has 12 patents to her name and honors and awards galore. Welcome aboard, Kruti and Shalini. Last but not the least, never the least, we have the second S being represented by Dr. Sandra Faber, Professor Emeritus of Astronomy and Astrophysics at the University of California, Santa Cruz. She says in one of her interviews that when she was young, she loved to stargaze. And I guess many of us did, but none of us became what she became, an astrophysicist, the highest order thinking. And she has the proud privilege of being associated with the Faber Albert Einstein. Ladies and gentlemen, an effusive round of virtual applause for these three wise women. And now I quickly take you through the evening. So we have the first round of question and answer, which will be asked by the moderator. In case you have not understood after seeing my verbosity, who's the moderator? Well, it's me, Rupa Chakravarty. And followed will be the poll, and then we will have you doing the polls. And as you can see, the third icon to your right, to the right of your screen, it's the graphical representation, which is where you'll have to go to take the poll. And we have 2 questions, and if we have time, we'll go into a third question. And that will be followed by the second round of question and answers, which again will be asked by me. And the last one will be the questions that you will ask. So ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to put your questions into the chat box. These will be collated and selected by the IC3 team. So I have had my minutes of introduction, but we move on to something that all of you are waiting with a bated breath with, and that is to listen to the panelists. Let me not be that obstruction anymore. And I begin with the humane element. All 3 of them have it in plenty, but somebody who's found people is the person I address my first question to. So Kruti, what are the strategies that you adapted to ensure that inequality that you had witnessed during your visits to India and during your childhood were eradicated through Peepul Foundation? Or people?
Sure, Rupa, and it's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much for the kind words of introduction. You talked a little bit about how previously how purpose is also important, and I think for me specifically, really it was about finding my purpose and meaning, and that's how I gravitated from the corporate sector to the nonprofit world, and specifically education. I think, as you mentioned in the question, how did I adapt a strategy, or how did I go about actually identifying how to actually get to minimize or start reducing the amount of inequality that I saw, specifically in India. I think there was a realization that I was simply lucky to have been born into the position that I was in the family that I was in, and another situation could have found me in very different circumstances. And so and so it was that realization that brought purpose to my life, which is to try and ensure that everyone had access to the same level of education that I did. And for me, I really felt that education was it was causing that division between allowing everybody to reach their potential and kind of get on to become productive, successful citizens that could live up to their potential. And so for me, I think the kind of basic premise was to really say that every child should really be helped and supported in living up to their potential. And so that was kind of what I took as my anchor when I set up Peepul. Having said that, I think that is, as educators, everyone would agree that that's a kind of common mission that we all want all children, regardless of background, to live up to their potential. When we take the case of India, there are 1.3 million government schools in the country, 160 million children studying in those schools. Of the children studying in those schools, around 55% of children at grade 5 are not able to even perform at grade 2 competencies. And so if we think about where does inequality manifest, it really is manifesting quite seriously and critically for the poorest of the poor.
New developmental research in technology, because it's imperative that they get hang of this developmental work. What should schools do to raise the bar for making them more creative? And this I ask as a teacher.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting question. So I'm sure all of you would have heard that technology is a disruption, right? It disrupts our lives. It brings in new things. But I want to step back and go behind this sentence. Technology is a disruption doesn't mean that we learn Java or cloud or AI or Kubernetes, because these are skills. The disruption is caused and the changes in technology happen because of, and I want to define that term, is combinatorial innovation. And combinatorial innovation happens at intersection. It doesn't intersection of philosophies, intersection of subjects, intersection of course curriculums, intersection of syllabuses, and that's what is taught at school. So any innovation, I mean, today if we see, any new innovation, whether it's a mobile phone or whether it's, the Uber taxis that we use, it's a result of a problem seen by somebody, and technology is an enabler, and the technology advancements also happen because people are innovating at the intersection. You see the amount of, what we study, internet itself. Internet was created studying the behavior of beehives, right? So it's all a combination of what you observe in the actual life and then apply it to create the advancements in technology. I'll take another example. all of us are comfortable of using weather.com, right? So weather.com, and it is an IBM company, so I know the internals. There are forecast models which are telling whether it's going to rain tomorrow or whether it's going to be sunny tomorrow. About those, there is a lot of data preparation. There are meteorologists sitting in my business unit who are actually working to see that how it can improve over a period of time based on past data, based on a huge amount of data which is collected. So technology and AI is an enabler which is making that forecast model happen. But it cannot happen only by programmers, or it cannot happen only by data scientists. It has to be a combination of meteorologists, actual customers, and our customers are like airlines. Airlines want to know whether how the business will be tomorrow, depending on weather, because their flights will be cancelled based on that. So it's a combination of multiple minds coming together, and these minds are there in schools. School is a time when we have to encourage the students to have this interdisciplinary thinking, which is not boxed in subjects, which is not boxed and you talked about novel imagination. The novel imagination gets killed if you box them in subjects, right? So it has to be nurtured and then only applied to technology. Many times we are seeing that the curriculum is talking about the skill that a person needs to acquire. The skill is different, whereas the imagination, the thinking, the creative process of bringing it together. Even when I deliver products, I need designers. My products cannot be developed only by engineers. How is the product going to be perceived by people? There was a time when in the IT industry, everybody was designing products only for men. They were not thinking that women will be using, and the way the structure of women are and where they click and what they perceive first. Though you have to do an analysis and research of what colors, what combinations. The products would get designed only for men in the whole tech. Not just tech, for cars. Cars are being designed only for men. So, you need designers, you need thinkers, you need people at the those skills there, and those skills get developed over a period of time. But at the school level, it's all about interdisciplinary thinking. And that's where we have to encourage, we have to inculcate, and as teachers, ensure it's a difficult task, because as a teacher you become a science teacher, you become an arts teacher, you become a physics, and you become a bio, but it all comes together. It all comes together in use cases, and as teachers we have to learn, because the younger generation is going to solve much larger problems, right? So like in IBM we have something called as 5 and 5. We predict five big predictions which are going to change the world in 5 years. And if you look at those 5 and 5, and I would encourage you to just go and check 5 and 5 from IBM. Those predictions are about carbon dioxide emissions. They are about planetary sustainability. They are about how to discover new material. They are not about any how AI is going to evolve or how cloud is going to evolve. So that's the thinking we need to put in place.
So I'm glad you brought interdisciplinary. Sorry, I think somebody needs to switch off the mic, mute themselves. Right, thank you. So I'm glad you brought up interdisciplinary, because this is something every school needs to do a change of mindset and get into that interdisciplinary way of teaching. Before I go to the next panelist, before I put up my next question, I just wish to tell everybody, the audience, to kind of shift your red bar if you wish to focus on a particular person. So when you shift this red bar at the bottom, you can scroll and go to the person, and please scroll sideways, of course, and go to the person that you wish to highlight on your screen. Thank you. So now we go to Sandy. And Sandy, you're somebody who's had a great influence on many, many people, because the level of thinking that you went into has been reached by very few. Many aspire for it, but very few reach it. So my question to you is, during your developmental years, what impacted your psychological and physiological growth positively or negatively, which played a pivotal role in shaping your future. And there's a message which goes out to teachers too. So they would want to, raise their children or ensure their education is in a manner which produces more Dr. Sandra Fabers of the world. Right, it's over to you. I'm sorry, Sandra, you're not audible. Is there? So it's always about great teachers who make students, reach the goal that they wish to, or reach the dream that they aspire for, the vision that they have, and you had very good teachers. So before we move on, I request everybody to get ready for the polls. And ladies and gentlemen, this is just a bit of information for you that we have 3 panelists here today, 3 very great panelists who are speaking about their lives for us to understand and improve ourselves as teachers and as human beings, I guess. We have 61 countries registered for the IC3 festival. That's something I think is just information which I thought everybody should have, and almost 1,000 plus people in who have registered for this. So welcome to everybody. May I now request for the polls, and we have the question there. The first one, you have 30 seconds to go. What is the relationship between technology and creativity? Technology aids creativity. Technology inhibits creativity. Technology does not affect creativity. So we have 8 votes come in, and we would request others to vote so that we can get a substantial figure of data, enough data for us to have the panelists give their opinion upon. So we have another 11 seconds to go. All right. So would you like to tell us what the outcomes are, Ashka? I think we could stop the polls and see the outcome of this particular poll. Yes, Michelle. Yes, please. Okay. Yes. Okay. Right. I would like to begin with Shalini. Shalini, what do you think about this particular finding that we have from this poll, that technology aids creativity?
Yeah, I'm just writing down. I think it's an important finding because there are enough people, talking about this, and it's a live poll. Very interesting that. So let me, let me just bring up some examples, right? I mean, where would we, if once a pandemic came in, and there was creativity, if I would say, shown by a lot of students, a lot of teachers, and even if we say people who are in bakery business, right? They are setting up sites for people to get in touch with them. People who are in transportation business, people who are in selling their wares, something which they would have never thought to do it they were doing, and they were having physical things. So people became very creative because there was definitely a crisis. But beyond the pandemic, beyond just the pandemic, there is more to creativity, right? And when creativity is enabled by technology, then creativity is faster, it is efficient, and it has a place to reach to. right? So creativity starts with conception, with validation. You have a lot of minds coming together, and you have innovative thinking coming together. But when all of these come together, a technology is the one which gives the form and shape to it. And that form and shape is so important, because otherwise it takes years for things to hit the market, right? And to make it available to people. Even if we take the example of iPhone, right? Simple the icons iPhone, they are so beautiful that we want to touch them. But this was about a lot of innovation in graphic design. There's a lot of innovation in how screens should be made as light as possible, right? It all came together, and an iPhone became a technology enabler to bring it together. The App Store as a concept was a technology which was enabling and which was creativity between farmers and agriculturists, with marketplaces, with beauticians, and everybody wanting to come together. So there was creativity. But did they have a platform to come together? No. It was a technology. An App Store had to happen. A Play Store on Google had to happen to bring that thing together. Right? We always had the need of finding places, but it to put the thing together. So technology becomes an enabler, and it aids creativity, and it makes it much faster. What you would have done in 10 years, you do it in say 6 months or 1 year. Another example, to discover a new material. When you discover a new material, there is so much of application. It could be an application in clothes, in the rubber that we use in tires. But to discover a new material takes 10 years and at least millions of dollars funding to be able to happen. But technology can do it in 6 months. Now a new material is discovered in 6 months. So that's the creativity boosting which technology does.
Of course, thank you so much, because it's such a lovely perspective that you gave. As a teacher, of course, if you ask me, every teacher across the country and across the globe became creative because they adapted. Whenever you adapt, and I think this was one of the survival of the fittest situation where evolution was happening, and we kind of proved to ourselves and to the world that we are ready to adapt. And this was one of them where we had, creativity through technology. And I'm reminded of a saying which I keep using very often, and that is, challenges make life interesting, and overcoming them makes life meaningful. And I think that's what we've done. We've made life very meaningful by accepting these challenges which came our way. I would like Kruti to look at the findings of the second poll, which says it has made us more empathetic. Well, I shall keep my opinion to myself. It's a bit of tongue-in-the-cheek kind of opinion that I have. But having said that, Kruti, if you could tell us what made everybody feel that working from home with increased use of technology made them more empathetic.
My hypothesis is that I think it's that understanding that now everybody has to adapt, as you said, and be flexible and kind of adapt to a situation that most people were unprepared for. And therefore, if you put yourself in somebody's, so I think it's that much easier because you are adapting and you're realizing that other people also have to adapt. And so you are, I think, especially in the first couple of months, there was this constant sense of, okay, now how do we do this? Let's figure it out together, right? And I think the minute that you start putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, you are more empathetic, you are more understanding. And I think as we've progressed in the pandemic, as there have been lots of, instances of colleagues having had COVID, or relatives, or immediate family members, whatever the case may be, I think there is an understanding of how difficult it has been, and despite the challenges, people have continued to do their best to be productive. I think schools have really gone above and beyond to make sure that they can continue to engage their students and make sure learning loss is minimal. And so, but I think at the base of it, it is realizing that it's a completely new way of working. It's a completely new way for the world, and that's probably my hypothesis of why we are, why everyone's kind of expressed their votes in that. Having said that, Rupa, I would say is that, working from home with, especially in the education space, one thing that has happened is that, the digital divide has increased, right? And so a lot of what we made happen over the last couple of decades in terms of providing universal access to all children in India, that is gradually going away. And so we had put aside the question of access and started focusing on quality. And we're actually taking a couple of steps back because children in government schools from the poorest backgrounds actually don't have a digital device, right? And so how are you going to be able to educate them when they don't actually have access to a platform or technology, or they have limited smartphone access? So there is, in parallel, this sense also probably of, just this growing digital divide and lack of access.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I saw this project being done by some students of a school where they asked all the, the haves, if I can put it in that crude manner, to kind of give their own devices so that those who do not have it to, be able to use that. I thought that was such a lovely project that the students had taken up. And I guess these are the things which are making people empathetic, so that the divide gets narrower and not wider. Sandy, if I could address this to you, how do you think this particular poll has, unfolded with that working from home with increased use of technology makes us more empathetic? What would your observations be about this?
Well, my personal feelings accord completely with the majority answers to both questions in the poll. I think there has been a tradition here in the US of constantly asking everyone, how are you doing? And we're meeting people over technology, over a technological platform, and it's almost ritualistic. How are you doing? Are you well? And in our department, we are very concerned about the mental health and well-being of our students. And so there's been quite a movement by the department administration and professors at large to constantly question our students, how are you doing at home, and so on. And I've been part of that by virtue of running something called the Osterbrock program. And I have found that people are extremely different. Some people seem to be thriving under this pandemic condition, whereas other people, it doesn't suit them at all. And so one needs to vary one's approach and be conscious of the fact that some people seem to be comfortable, others not. And so putting this all together, I just say there's just a general awareness in my world that we are in an odd time, and adjustments are needed. And really all of this communication is being enabled by this internet technology. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see people at all.
True. So rightly said. So I think, whilst you all speak, there is, of course, one thing that emerges, that all size, it doesn't fit everybody. All sizes don't fit everybody. And the other thing that I realized was actually when we have this famous saying which says that, wear the shoes to know where it pinches. Now we are all in the same boat and we all know where it pinches for each other. And I think that's what has made us more empathetic, because literally we are in the same boat, So I guess, and it's all global, and it's brought us so much more closer to each other. And with that, I come to a question to you, Sandy, and it is a quote that I picked up, and I wish you to kind of throw more light on it. My foremost objective is to inspire girls to dream and achieve careers in science and technology. What aspects of counseling can be adopted or adapted to ensure a change of thought process, in various stakeholders to achieve this?
Thank you for the question. So I think one of my themes today is the fact that learning is complex. Some of it is unpleasant, actually, and it's unpleasant for everyone. Sitting down and slaving over an equation, I think there are a few people who just think, wow, that's what I love to do, you know? Mostly it's a tool that you have to master in order to get something else done. And much of math is like that, much of science is like that, much of learning law is like that, for example, you know. So I'm discoursing now in general about the barrier that is needed for very focused, complicated thinking. And the fact is that most of us don't like aspects of that. And therefore, that turns me to my theme, which is motivation. People have to be motivated to learn. And the slightest discouragement can turn into a fatal catastrophe that turns people away. I think this is what's happening to girls. So learning is hard for everybody, and the extra discouragement that many girls feel that they are not wanted in their particular field, this is particularly hard on them. I will also say that I think there is an element of just liking the way certain fields address the problem. And again, there are multiple ways. Shalini addressed this. There are multiple ways that you can present the same problem, and women will find some ways more attractive and more engaging for them than men might, or vice versa. And so what I'd like to stress is the need for a pluralistic culture in which, say, astrophysics, just to pick an example, is presented with many different facets that can appeal to all kinds of different people who have different learning likes and styles. And I'll return to this later in the panel. I really think that technology, with its flexibility, can play a big role in achieving that.
Thank you for that. Yes, technology definitely is the crucial and the pivotal point which is taking us ahead. And it also enables us to have different kind of perspectives, you know, and what I was saying earlier, like one size doesn't fit all, is something that technology ensures that everybody is thinking differently and applying it differently. So with that, I move to Kruti for the next question. Kruti, what is your perspective on the question, does technology diminish the humaneness of a human being?
That's a tough question. It's, I think it's hard to generalize. And so as I think about that question, I also reflect on some of what the other panelists have said in terms of different use cases for technology, and also how can we apply technology to different cases so that it can actually become a true enabler. I think a couple of reactions on that question itself. I mean, in terms of does technology diminish the humaneness? You know, it does remove that human connect, you know, and that focus on kind of in-person interaction, which is often very important for behavior change or role modeling, or giving folks a sense of, you know, having a conversation, being able to connect with the individual. So I think to that extent, you know, technology definitely does you know, diminish the humaneness, because that is completely taken out of the equation. On another level, though, as we think about the connection of technology in a broader sense at scale and with regard to innovation, I think we've seen that technology has been used in ways that we didn't expect for it to be used. In our own work, we often used to question the role of technology in the classroom. We felt the teacher was really the centerpiece, and the teacher was the individual that really had the largest impact. And a lot of education technology, we weren't quite sure of how that could be used in the classroom, and we didn't agree with it being a replacement for the teacher, because we saw many human elements of that teacher-student interaction which technology would not be able to substitute. However, in our work during school closures and with the lockdown, we've actually seen a very different use case for technology. Technology as a platform has allowed us to reach 20 times the number of teachers and actually deliver teacher training at scale in a way that we had never thought possible. And so suddenly using Zoom, using platforms, being able to deliver digital training, mentoring, monitoring, has just opened up a huge range of possibilities. So on the one hand, I do think that the human element is missing, and that's a critical one for any kind of behavior change we want in society. But on the other hand, I think with regard to the ability to have impact at scale, innovate, be creative, I think technology presents a huge opportunity to be able to bring about shifts in mindsets, knowledge, and behaviors of society.
True. Of course, we miss the warmth, a hug, that we would give a friend. I know Michelle gives me a virtual hug from California every time we meet, but it's not like being there with each other. Shalini, I turn towards you, and what can be a defining factor to help develop a scientific bent of mind among students in school? So that's one part of the question. The second part is, how can colleges help scaffold the approach schools take to further build on it? So it's a two-pronged answer, especially school and college kind of juxtaposing with each other to ensure that there is growth in learning, keeping the school as the base or the foundation.
Okay, so I think first let's get to your earlier part of the question, which is about scientific bent of mind.
Right.
The essential element of scientific bent of mind is curiosity. So if a child is not curious enough to solve problems, then scientific mind will not be developed. It cannot be developed after you have done your graduation, post-graduation, and you have degrees. No, it has to start at the school level, because it is all about curiosity. It's about how curious you are on certain phenomena, and then getting an answer for those, either in chemistry or physics or science or socials. But the curiosity is the very essential element of scientific discovery. And I have worked a lot with students. In fact, we get 40 students per year into a lab, where we, they are all students from 8 to, the youngest one was 13 years old, I remember. It was great to see, discover that mind. So from 8th grade to 12th grade, there are students who come to our lab. And believe me, it's more a learning for us. As to how nimble their minds are, how open their minds are, how we give them projects which are actually related to us, or we give them a sneak peek preview into what work we do, so that they get inspired. But we also give them projects to work on, and some of the very simple problems and simple projects that they come up, and the solutions that they come up, that shows that the curiosity is present there. It has to be nurtured. And by the way, when we get 40 students, the teachers are also there with us. They also spend a lot of time with us. And it's so wonderful to see that the teachers with the growth mindset, teachers who are ready to tell the children to be courageous, to break boundaries, to go ahead and experiment and fail fast. Right? Those are the teachers who are asking teachers to fail. That you ask your student to fail enough, fast enough, and be curious, experiment, and just you might not succeed every time. Those are the teachers which we see, and those students we see going at different places, and we have seen over the period of years that those students have blossomed into much better human beings. And that goes into college, because even if we do it at school level, the colleges have to be ready to grasp and grab these children to who are thinking, who are curious at the college level, so at the school level. So the college has to provide, of course. And there are disciplines today. Colleges are thinking a lot about disciplinary thing. Like I'm talking to colleges who are talking about more about biological discoveries based on AI. So you need technological skills, you need a bio background, and you need two things for you to come together. So if you have made that child curious at the student life, then at the college level they can get into those disciplines, and it becomes an easy method for them to go ahead. And these projects, and what we call them as capstone projects, these projects are of course we are enabling, but we can enable only a X number of people. And I would say all teachers, all schools should encourage a lot of hands-on capstone projects, which ask them to give them a project in which not just programmers or computer science students, but a history student, a biology student, they are all paired together. Somebody is interested in design, pair them together, because the corporate world is like that. You will have to work with designers, you will have to work with domain people who are insurance or financial experts. Everything comes together. So that's the whole process that we have to put together between students and colleges.
Since you brought this up about scaffolding between school and college, would you like to kind of quickly add over here, because I know you've done this project with 3,000 children, and you're also working on the curriculum for CBSE, which is one of the national boards. So would you like to quickly throw some light on this before we move on to the questions from the audience?
Okay, sure. I'll quickly outline these two things. So these are two different things that we did. The first is an experiment with 3,000 children, which was more as my own NGO and my personal involvement, where I was more curious about that technology is built, and in India we have large organizations building technology, but how are students absorbing it? Right? Even if we take things like Internet of Things, AI, right? How are students absorbing? So I had done a fair called Escape Velocity, in which we had exhibits, and we had people coming from different domain and displaying that how a simple concept is explained in maths, or in a simple DNA sampling was done of children to show that how easy it is to do DNA sampling of a strawberry. So they were all practical things which in science, and that were just the main theme was ignite curiosity, because that can be done only at school level. Right? So that's the first part, and the second is I worked with the CBSE board to put AI as a curriculum, and we have launched it in a couple of schools, and AI is available as a subject for 11th and 12th grade now, and it can be taken by, and it's not just for com science or math students. We have made a curriculum which is AI for all. So humanities or history or commerce students can pick up that subject, AI for all, and build up their skills. So if it needs maths, it will be only at 10th level that you would need. You don't need to be a math student to pick up that course. So it has been launched by CBSE, and I would encourage you to be in touch with your boards to find out. But as IBM, we have been helping build those projects, and we have done teachers training as well, principals training we have done, so that it becomes a full cycle and everybody understands AI.
In fact, I feel happy and proud to say that the first training happened in our school, in our auditorium. So, yes, so I'm very much a part of it, the IBM training, and I met a lot of your colleagues when they came here to train, when I just went up. and kind of got them going, so I'm aware.
Awesome.
So just to kind of wrap up this round, Sandy, I would like to come to you because frankly, I'm an absolute novice where it comes to the galaxy. I loved stargazing, like I have said before, but you know, I really do not know, and I'm sure there are many people out there who do not know how much of technology you're using, you know, to do things and to understand space. Of course, I read a bit about the Faber-Jackson relation and understood that the connection that you're trying to build up between the velocity and luminosity. But how much of technology do you use when you do your experimentations and your calculations and findings with space?
Yeah, well, a fantastic amount. I've been privileged to be involved in the construction of big telescope projects. At the time, the world's largest 10-meter telescopes, pair of them on Mauna Kea, and that was a fantastic undertaking. Just think of the technological challenge of having a reflective surface that is 10 meters across, in which it is held to an accuracy of 1/100th the diameter of a human hair. I mean, that is technology at its acme. Or take the Hubble Space Telescope, which was a fantastically difficult project, putting a beautiful optic. And of course, there's the story. Initially, it wasn't properly figured and had to be fixed, but it was fixed. And as a result, we have wonderful pictures, which the whole world has enjoyed. So short answer to your question is modern astronomy could not exist with, we are sitting at the top of a technological pyramid. That's the best way of putting it. Yeah.
But just to note, because you didn't have technology when you were growing up, how easy or difficult was it for you to adapt to technology?
I'm not very good at technology. So actually, and so it was not easy. And I think I sort of slid into it. You know, I was learning through textbooks and doing homework. Involving computer programming for students are very empowering. They can write a program, they can see it work. And for the first time, they have created something that actually works and does something. And it's even better if they can be working for your organization, you can use their program. And then they see it actually in action and feel very empowered by that. So there's something wonderful about computer programming, a new language which most people can learn, and their instant gratification, instant rewards, and instant empowerment.
So now we move to the questions from the audience, and I begin with this one. I think it's the pandemic that has made us more empathetic, and technology has helped us stay connected. How we use technology is what matters. So would anybody like to comment on this, or is just an opinion maybe? Because there's also a question, what are the positives and negatives of using technology to communicate? And I would request any of you to take that question.
I have a short thought here that might be useful.
All right.
This is relating to the theme here of how technology can be humane or not. And I think the key that we need to focus on more is maintaining the identity of the contributor who is expressing a thought or producing a new tool. The enemy, I think we have seen really, is much of social media in which contributions become anonymous. And all you have to do is watch the comment stream for YouTube videos or for newspaper articles. When people are allowed to comment without sharing their identity, there is something absolutely toxic about this. And so originally we thought this will be wonderful. You will be able to express your opinion and you can do so anonymously without fear of retaliation or reprisal. I think we're finding that we're going too far in that direction and the pendulum needs to swing back.
That's thought-provoking. I think that's, yes, Kruti. Yes, you wish to say something.
Well, just another thought to add there.
Yes.
I think in terms of communication, one of the things that I have found difficult is just collaboration, right? Sustaining strong collaboration over a period of time, especially I think in the education space, peer learning, right? I think being able to actually encourage students, I think there have been innovations, things have been tried, but I think sustaining that both within schools, among students, as well as between teachers, as well as within organizations. I think it's increasingly harder to actually do a lot of peer learning, peer teaching, and that is something that I found difficult with how technology, how things are playing out now without any human connection.
Right. That's right. That's absolutely well put. There's a question that I wish to read out now. More and more students in metropolitan cities are enamored by the glamour of offbeat professions and moving away from the traditional, most elite line of education or learning or professions. Science stream, which are more labor intensive and time consuming subjects, are one of them. How do we get students to come back to these streams? What's the question clear? Should I read it out? It's an interesting question. Shalini, would you like to go for it?
Rupa, I'm sorry, I got logged out and I just logged in again. So
Okay.
If you can repeat the question, please.
All right. It's a very interesting question. More and more students in metropolitan cities are enamored by the glamour of offbeat professions and moving away from the traditional, most elite or more elite science stream, which are more labor intensive and time consuming subject. How do we get students to come back to these streams?
So, first of all, I don't know, I agree to the more elite part of it. I have been a science student in my life and I wouldn't call it elite, right? Because, but I understand where the teacher is coming from. I understand that, you are wanting the children to focus more or to, so I think we have to fundamentally, it's not about attraction. It's not about, it's what the students hear in the market, which they feel they are aligned towards. And I think we should let them flow. And today there is a lot of discovery and a lot of research in careers like, again, I'm coming back and I took this example and I'm coming back to this. There's a lot of research, there's a lot of discovery in professions like design, in professions like psychological counseling, in professions like how learning happens, how learning capability happens. There is a lot of discovery and there is a lot of in-depth boundaries that you can push in political science, for example. Public policy is such an important subject these days. So saying that science is elite, I'm sorry, we have to change that. We have to change that because that is what is inhibiting the children to take science. Because we are putting something like science is an elite, you either do it, if you don't do it, you are a failure.
Yes.
That concept itself is defeating in itself. We have to let the children flow. We have to tell them that other professions, I think a lawyer who can talk about public policies and public activism is the most needed, which I'm sure Kruti will agree with me. She would love a person working that for her that rather than a scientist, because her problems of daily handling with children can be solved more by counselors and by folks who generally might not have a science and math background. So I'm not undermining the use of science and math. Yes, those innovations are needed, but the innovations of future are all about if we talk about climate, these are the complex problems which we are not able to solve. And for that, yes, we need scientists, but that's not the be all. So we have to really change our thinking and inculcate that confidence in children that yes, if you pick up humanities, if you pick up commerce, there is a lot of things that you can do. If you pick up law and you want to be a lawyer, there are a lot of things which you can solve and rather than just solve as science, because all the science students are ending up in engineering colleges. Are all engineering colleges churning out engineers? No, they aren't. People are coming there because they took science and because there is a huge number of engineering colleges than the others, which are actually better in quality because we invested more in engineering. That's why they are in better quality, not other way around. Students don't want to do engineering, that's why they are coming. So I think we have to change that whole concept, and scientists are not elite. Let me tell you, pure science is the most difficult thing to do. Pure science of solving and pushing the barriers of science is the toughest thing to do. And everybody, and I'm telling you, 99% of the people digress from that. It's only one Dr. Sandra Faber who's sitting there and who pursues and who takes it further. There are, a lot of people fall apart in that. So I'm sorry, I'm very, very passionate about this, and this question came. And I just can't, accept that science is elite, though I'm a science student.
Thank you so much, Shalini. I mean, it has been absolute pleasure, and I'm just reminded of a saying of Einstein, that I have no great talent. I'm just passionate, and he says, I'm just passionately curious. And I think that's what is the key to learning. It's not about having an elite subject or every subject just needs curiosity, and curiosity once killed the cat, but the cat is dead now. So don't worry that it will last, So let's move on because the cat is already gone due to curiosity. Ladies and gentlemen, I really do not want to wind this session up because it's been an absolute pleasure, and I can see a lot of questions over there, a lot of questions being sent on my mobile phone because the answers are required. But one last question, just yes or no, maybe Shalini, because I know I'm overstepping the time and Michelle is here for her note. Michelle is our chair for the IC3 Presidential Forum, and she is the backbone of this whole setup where we all depend on her. Just a quick question to Shalini with somebody's put that would IBM be doing trainings for teachers, principals, et al. In other countries? I guess this person is from one of the 61 countries who have logged in here. So would they be doing in other countries? And with reference to Sri Lanka and Dubai, etc.
So I don't know the answer right now to this. What the plans are, because this was done purely with CBSE. CBSE has schools in other countries.
Yes.
So if CBSE wants to do it in Dubai, Singapore, and they have in Sri Lanka, they do have schools, by the way. So I think the right would be to contact the director for CBSE. We work with Mr. Manoj. I mean, that's what it is.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. But of course, the other part which I want to talk about is that we do have teacher advisor as there is, please check out teacher advisor on the internet. That is made only for teachers to tell them and guide them how they can advise their students. And, they pick up on math, and it's an AI based tool. So do look at teacher advisor, which is available, for all the teachers.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you, all of you. I would like to really, thank the audience also for participating, in such a manner that we got very good perspective of things. And now I hand over to Michelle. Thank you, each one of you, Kruti, Shalini, and of course, Yes, Sandy. Thank you, each one.
No, thank you so much, Rupa. And I want to just be very brief. And it's wonderful to, see everybody. I do wish we were there in person. But again, thank you for joining us today. And our panelists, and Rupa, you kind of disappeared with your video, but I want to thank you. You are tirelessly committed to this and really getting to know each of our panelists. And of all the items, and I always take a lot of notes and I definitely have some highlights, but I think the closing item that I would like to stay with, because I think we heard this from all of our panelists, is really continue to ignite that curiosity. And I think of fostering curiosity, and I'm always going to now use the term ignite the curiosity. And so I think that was a really special term that we can really think about. And I think that spans all spectrums of education and well into the professional world. So I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions day in and day out. And I do hope that we all continue to celebrate this week with each other. And I certainly hope to see you at some of the different programs. And do try to stay connected in the human element as well as the technological as we all navigate these really crazy times together. So I think with this, we will formally conclude our session. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us. And again, remarkable conversation today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.